I erase that?
Yep.
Okay, we're going to go on to multiplying these puppies. So far, so good? Okay. Now, multiplying is nice because you're looking at binomial times binomial. And when you got that, you can do that FOIL. Okay? So that's how we're going to basically attack that. And you need to remember where it says there, FOIL the numbers and combine like terms. Remember, see where it says remember in your notes there? You need to remember that I squared equals -1. Okay, so when we end up with an I squared term, we're going to end up combining that later.
Okay.
So our first example here looks like 1 minus 3i. And then next parenthesis is 4 plus 6i.
Yep.
All right. So I'm just going to do first out or enter last.
Okay.
Okay. 1 times 4 is going to give me 4. This right here is going to give me -18i squared. Yes?
Yep.
And inside gives me -12i. Outside gives me a +6i. And so I'm going to write it down here. So it's going to look like 4 minus 6i minus 18i squared. Is that what you got? 4.
Well, by I squared is -1.
I'm going to change that. Okay? But I'm going to do it in the next step so I don't get confused.
How can we have, we did FOIL, so shouldn't we have 4 terms?
We do, but here's mine. 1, 2, 3, 4. But when I write it down here, I go ahead and combine the inner outer.
Okay.
All right? And so I'm going to rewrite this 18i squared. 4 minus 6i minus 18. And that's times -1, right? So that's like what? Adding 18, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what's my front number going to be? 22? So 22 minus 6i. That should be your final answer on that one.
Okay.
Are you seeing that, Brandon?
Yes.
Now, it is totally okay for you to consider this equals 18. You can do that as well.
Okay.
That might be a good place to do it. Just be careful to know when you did it, because sometimes you think you did it and you didn't, or you did it and you didn't think you did, so you do it again. So I like to write it down.
Okay.
So, next example. All right, on this one, 2 minus 3i times 2
Plus 3i.
Now, can you tell me what this looks like? 2 minus 3i times 2 plus 3i. Before we get started, do you remember that a plus b times a minus b was equal to a squared minus b squared? Okay, this was your difference of 2 squared and how you factor it. Remember that? Well, guess what? This is going to be very much like that. Okay, this is cool because it's going to end up knocking out all the i's. You're going to end up with a real answer here.
Oh.
Okay, so let's do our FOIL. 2 times 2 is 4. -3i times 3i is going to give me a -9i squared, which would equal what, Brandon?
Positive 9.
Or Katie, that works. So this is -6i, this is what? +6i, so what am I going to get when I add those puppies?
0.
0. So I end up with 4 plus 9 plus 0, so I get 13. Is that sweet or what?
That was very cool.
Now, this idea of this difference of 2 square type thing and knock it out, we're going to use that when we get into the division, which is on our next page, I think. Right? So B, turn the page. I'm so sorry that y'all have to watch this. Okay, complex conjugate. Here's your a plus bi. Okay, a conjugate has the same exact a and b, only the sign is different on the in-between.
Okay.
A and b are the same. Complex conjugate of here would be a minus bi. Basically what you're trying to do is set it up so that your middle terms knock out.
So the complex conjugate of a plus bi is a minus bi.
And if I had said, oh, what's the complex conjugate of a minus bi, you're going to say a plus bi. The a and b stay the same. It's the operation that changes.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so we're going to find the complex conjugate. Okay, hold on. The product of a complex conjugate and its complex, a complex number and its complex conjugate. Good thing I can edit.
It's always a real number?
Yes. Like we just spit out that 13 was a real number.
Okay.
The reason this works is because your middle term goes away. Okay? So it's always going to be a real number. So let's look at the complex conjugate of this. -2 minus 5i. Remember, a and b are identical, so it is -2 plus 5i. It's only the operation in between that changes. So on my next one, 3 plus 8i, what are we going to have?
3 minus
3
8i.
minus 8i. 8i.
3 minus 8i. You got it. Sweet.